Okay, real talk. If you have ever looked at your bank account and thought to yourself, ooh, I cannot afford help. But then you looked at the work in front of you and said to yourself, ooh, I cannot afford to not have help, right? You're starting to miss deadlines. You feel like you cannot keep doing this alone because you know that you can't. This episode is for you. Today, we are talking about the fears that kill new law firms and law firm owners. They plague law firm owners, and of course, the systems to solve them. This is the Attorney Cheat Code podcast, where we will give you the tools necessary to fast track your way to law firm ownership, to not just create the law firm, but ultimately the life of your dreams. My name is Alicia Jones, and I am a Texas-based attorney. And if this is your first time here, then as they say in the Baptist church, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you have been with me before, then thank you so much for returning. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button or the bell or the notification so that you can be notified of future episodes. And don't forget to share this with other aspiring law firm owners or those law firm owners that may need to revamp so that they can enjoy life. Today's episode is part 2 of a mini-series where we're talking about the most common fears that law firm owners feel, whether they're launching, they want to launch, or they launched already. It's the fears that keep attorneys stuck. Fear number 2 is, can I afford staff? And that is a really justifiable fear. And let me start by saying, if you're thinking about hiring staff and you're fearful about that, then the fear is not necessarily the bad thing, it's what you do with the fear. The fear actually could mean, and I hope it does mean, that there is a level of respect that you hold to the endeavor of having staff. And that if you just jumped in, you hire staff and you had no plan and no money, then that could equate to you not actually respecting people. That means that you're putting other people and their family and their lives at risk because you don't have a plan. So because you have the fear, then we're going to equate that to respect. So the good is that you're having the thoughts around hiring and you want to be very intentional about onboarding people to make sure that you can actually pay them what they have negotiated to be paid, and that is not taken away from you, and that you're not in the poorhouse while you're paying everyone else. So the thoughts about how to hire, when to hire, who to hire, these are also thoughts that means that you have a growth mindset. So applaud yourself, pat yourself on the back, celebrate that, because that means that you're not just thinking, how can I do this all by myself for the next 10 or 15 years, but you're thinking for yourself, how can I bring on staff? I'm going to show you today, though, why the first person you should hire is actually not a person at all. This episode is about learning to build with systems first, so that when you finally do bring on people and you finally onboard that staff, they know exactly what you're handing them. They're not coming into chaos. And just as important as that is that they now have the expectation that you run a well-oiled machine, and they need to come in and be just as efficient and just giving the same amount of quality work that you've already been doing. That's going to now equate to people coming in feeling that they can be successful with your firm. So I support the school of thought that it is better to have an efficient team of 2 than a lazy team of 6. There's even a school of thought, though, that feels like real law firms are only made up when you have a receptionist and a paralegal and an administrative assistant and a clerk and an associate and junior associates. And then somehow that if you don't have all of that and all of these positions in your firm, then somehow your office is not real. But real talk, if you do not have the consistent revenue to support the payroll that you're wanting, then you need to take a step back, slow down, because if not, you're setting yourself and your team up for failure. And you're building a house on sand. And let's go ahead and say it is sinking sand. And a lot of firm owners are making that mistake. Or a lot of firm owners are allowing that fear to keep them stuck. You know what that also leads to? It leads to, for you, burnout. It leads to your team for burnout. It leads to you missing invoices. It leads to you, even worse, negotiating your fees. Family, this is not the swap meet. This is not a flea market. We are not on the corner trying to sell oranges and negotiate costs for those goods and services. We are going to set aside, make sure that we know what our fees are. We're going to calculate it. We're going to set it, and we're going to stand on it. Because when you're scrambling to get money in the door and you want to make sure that you are meeting your payroll and that you're covering your overhead expenses, then that can leave you feeling like a failure. That can make you question whether or not you're called to be a firm owner. It is not that you're not called, it's that you don't have the right system or you didn't have the right system in place. You may feel like you're less than or feel like you're not worthy, but there's a way to fix all of that, and that is to have a plan. So today we're going to talk about staff zero. Yes, the number zero, staff zero. Staff number zero is your system. And we want to think about that system, and we want to think about what we need them for, right? So before you think about a paralegal or an assistant, you want to think about what they would do. Then you want to ask yourself, is there a system that can do this more efficiently and for a lesser cost? And of course, when you're going through this in each part of your firm and each portion of your firm, then you're going to get to the point at some point that, yes, it is more effective, it is more efficient, and there is a need to bring on a human to do this job because it's going to be better for them to do it. Until then, though, we want to think about systems and dashboards and platforms that we can use to make sure that we're still providing the service, but at a lesser cost. Because we'll talk about some of those systems, because in real talk, systems will beat human beings in a lot of ways every day of the week. Staff zero is going to be your scheduler and your client liaison. Your scheduler can be housed within like Calendly or Acuity, and it can start as low as $0 a month. But now if you really want to do some automations and you want workflows and you want your potential clients to book with you and for that to be a smoother process, then you may want to consider, I think right now it's about $12 a month for Calendly, for their plan. And I think the same thing for Acuity. I do not know a person that is going to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and only request $12 a month. Now, if you know them, that is actually called slavery. And do not use your mom to do that, because she still is now working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So your second staff is going to be your client liaison. This is going to be the staff person that is going to communicate with your current clients, your potential clients, and also receive documentation. That does not have to be you. There is an automation. There's a system that can be created for that. Think about your intake forms, your client contracts, your client policy, or whatever other onboarding docs that you send or you give to each of your clients, or that you request signatures for each of your clients. Each of these initial forms that you may be taking time out of your day to put into an email and send to a client can be automated. That can be created through Google Forms, through your MyCase, through your Clio, through Lawmatics. And of course, the communication about what's next and what to expect, or the letter to welcome the new client onto the firm, that can also be done by automations and in your CRM. Of course, you're going to have to take some time to build it, but once you do, it is a repeatable task. And now that you're paying that $12 a month for that to continue to be done. These are the tasks that you're probably doing manually. Like I said, you may be putting them in an email yourself. Let's let technology take that and shift that duty to staff zero. Yes, of course, I am an advocate of having human beings in the office, but I want you to make sure that those human beings are doing work that is actually relevant and necessary for human beings to do, especially when you are paying people. You want them to do work that only humans can do. If you're going to hire an administrative assistant, the average salary of one in the United States right now ranges from about $38,000 to $50,000 a year. That's roughly $3,200 to a little bit over $4,100 a month. Those numbers are based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That does not include the taxes, the turnover, the training time that's going to take time from your schedule, because you have to train them, because you want to make sure that even if they are a good candidate, that they work in a way that is congruent with the type of firm that you have. And let's talk about hiring an attorney. So maybe you say, I want somebody to make appearances for me and go to court. Then your associate attorney, even baby attorneys with no experience, as soon as they pass the bar, their expectation is $85,000 to $90,000 a year so that they can come into your firm and learn from you and learn how to practice law. And of course, it's going to take time from you to train them. Now imagine taking that same money for the next 3 to 6 months and building out automations that will create your standard operating procedures, your SOPs, that will go ahead and set your KPIs for each role in your firm. That is going to create systems that will allow your firm to scale with or without people. Investing in those systems that will never call in sick, they never need PTO, they don't come in late, they work 24 hours a day, and you're able to control how much money is actually going out. What are those billables going out? Because you know that what the amount is. You have a subscription. You know what you're paying for MyCase. You know what you're paying for Calendly. You know what you're paying for Acuity. So now you can really stabilize your bottom line from the jump. Then when you bring on someone, when you bring on that associate for $85,000, $90,000 a year, your expectations are very clear. Now, I know what you may be thinking. This is overwhelming. So think about all the different platforms and systems that are out there that you could take advantage of. But this is also the time that you want to think about maybe outsourcing some one-off jobs. Think about Fiverr or Upwork. They are going to be your best friend because now you have someone that is a MyCase guru that can build a few workflows for you with an hour worth of service. And now you're able to use them and tweak them so that you can use them in your firm in perpetuity. Right? So this is someone that does this type of thing every day. You can take that, like I said, take that money and just hire that one person off of Fiverr, Upwork, make sure that they build the system for you. And now again, tweak it, make sure that it works for you. Because remember, we are building a firm around us versus the other way around. And I know it may feel counterintuitive to build in this way because we've been taught for so long to sacrifice your good energy, to sacrifice your good brain power, to give up all of your good years working 60, 70, 80 hours a week in hopes of retirement when you're like 70 or 80 years old. But that's not what we're doing. This is the attorney cheat code. So here are a few things that you may want to consider automating. And if you think about, before you even think about payroll, you want to make sure that your client intake system, your scheduler, is on board, staff 0. The next thing you want to consider is your email responses, because of course you may send out proposals for services or you may send out contracts for services. Have templates, have canned responses that can be added to an email very quickly with a click of a button versus you having to go in each document and make updates. Then you're going to have your document management system. This is going to be your Google Drive, your OneDrive, your Dropbox, and you want to really dive into using those tools that are at your disposal, creating folders, folder templates, for instance. For example, if you know that you have the same 4 folders, regardless of the type of client that comes in, then you want to make sure that those folders and whatever subfolders that are needed are in a template. Create the templates so that you can easily drop them into each client's database or each client's main folder without having to take time from you, without having to recreate that every single time. Then, of course, we cannot leave out payments. This is definitely something else you want to automate. If you have an online payment link and you have your invoicing tools, then you want to make sure that those two are linked together. You want to make sure that they automatically receive updates when it's time for a payment or when they've made a payment and they get a receipt. Or the same thing with payments is like, okay, you made your payment, here's your receipt, and now here's your welcome letter. All of those things can be automated. When you're thinking about setting up your systems in your firm, you want to think about when to delegate, what to delegate, who to delegate it to. You get to streamline your firm so that you are doing tasks that only you can do, tasks that will allow you to operate in your zone of genius. If you know, for instance, that you like to do research on a case, when a case comes in, you want to dive in, you want to look at the relevant law, you want to look at treaties, you want to look at the statutes, and you want to really dive into that portion of preparation for the case, then build your firm around that. Make sure that you're giving yourself the opportunity and the space to be able to do the research, because that is what makes the work fulfilling for you. That is what is going to make sure that you have longevity in the field, right? This means that if that is what you like to do, the research part, then you are likely to spend less time or want to spend less time on the phone with clients or giving client updates, because that you know that you want to spend time doing the research, diving into the books, maybe on the computers, looking at the relevant law and understanding how the laws have changed, have shifted, or maybe where you can cause a shift in the law. So when you're using your tools, you want to think about AI and your automations to make sure that your clients still receive the communications that they need, that they're still receiving the updates on their cases that they need, while also allowing you to do the work that is fulfilling to you, the work that is going to be energizing for you, which also, when you think about that, is it allows you to really know, who do I need to bring into the firm? What role do they need to fill in? Because I know where I like to be. I know what my zone of genius is. And this is beautiful because you are engineering a firm for you. Now, just in case you missed it, I'm not saying that you should continue to do everything yourself. That is not what I am saying at all. What I am saying is that Staff Zero is your system, your automations that will allow you to grow smart. You can start with Staff Zero today. And even if you use Zapier to connect your different dashboards together, Google Forms, MyCase, or Clio, your estimated cost each month for your plan is still going to be less than $200, $250. And if you look at the return on that investment, if you look over the next 3 to 6 months of investing that time, investing that money to make sure that you have your operating procedures, you have your policies in place, and you know how you want to deliver the services, then think about how much time you have given back to yourself. And then you're going to bring on people that will come into your firm and feel the calm. You're also able to add more to your bottom line, of course, because Staff Zero is not a $50,000 to $60,000 employee, although they are doing the work of one. And one of the best parts about creating these types of systems is that you will be able to find the right staff a bit easier. Members will join your team and they'll walk into a well-oiled machine instead of the chaos. And they will be able to thrive in your firm instead of feeling like they don't even know what to do. They don't know where things are. It makes for a better staff experience, which carries over to making sure that your clients have a better experience with your firm. It sets the tone for those staff members that are coming in that you are a highly efficient, well-oiled machine and that any substandard work will not be tolerated. So here we go. Here is your homework for the week. I want you to write down everything that you do in a day. Do this for 5 straight days, so Monday through a Friday, because hopefully you're not working on the weekends. I want you to write down everything that you do, from checking emails to checking actual mail to checking voicemails, returning calls, running invoices, paying invoices, running behind money, trying to find that money, drafting documents, drafting motions, appearing in court. And I want you to put each of those tasks in groups. Group 1 is going to be administrative tasks. So once you have your full list, you're going to then disseminate them into different groups. Group 1 is administrative tasks. Group 2 is going to be legal work. Now, under group 1, I want to make sure that you have 3 subgroups, because it's just not administrative tasks. You have subgroups under that, right? Group 1 is going to be administrative tasks that only you can do. Group 2, subgroup 2, is going to be administrative tasks that you can delegate to a system. And then group 3 is going to be administrative tasks that need a human touch. An example of, you may say, like, what is an administrative task that only I can do? An administrative task that you as a firm owner may want to continue to do is transferring funds from your trust account to your payroll account or to your operating account. You may not want to give that out too quickly. Then you want to move to group 2, and you want to think about the legal work, and you want to divide that group into 2 subgroups. You want to think about, is this work that a paralegal can handle, or is this work that an attorney can handle? And of course, when we're thinking about attorney-only work, that is setting the strategy for the client. Is going to be the work of a person with a bar card. Drafting an original petition for divorce or drafting a motion for summary judgment is the work that a paralegal can do under the guidance of an attorney. But when it comes to the strategy, that needs to come from the bar card holder. The key here is knowing when to delegate to technology and when to delegate to a human. This is also going to help you know when you actually need to hire a human being. By setting this out, you're going to be able to easily see the opportunities for growth. You're going to be able to easily see the opportunities for efficiency. And before you know it, you will be fully staffed with the right people in the right seats doing the work the way that you want them to do it. This just really makes my heart smile to think about that. Hopefully this information is inspiring you and letting you know that it's easier than you thought to create a firm around you, to create a firm of your dreams so that you can live the life of your dreams. At least I hope it does, right? Because putting the systems in place allows you to breathe. It allows your brain to not be so overloaded with the this and the that and this and that. As firm owners, we have a lot of things that we have to do, a lot of tasks and a lot of hats that we have to wear. And if you're already a firm owner, then hopefully this information is helpful for you to adjust and to make a pivot so that you can start to run your firm in a better way. We all know firm owners that are running every time you see them, or that they are downtown chasing cases, or that they are always talking about money that has gone out the door, money that clients have not paid. But when things like that happen, it's because there's not a system in place. But it doesn't mean that it's over. It doesn't mean that you cannot shift and make a change. It doesn't mean just because you've been in practice for 10, 15, 20, 25 years that you cannot make a shift. What it does mean is that you have to be intentional. You have to have a really hard look at your firm and your life. Think about your life, right? How does your firm fit into your life versus your life fitting into your firm? And I'll say it again. How does your firm fit into your life versus your life fitting into your firm? Answering phone calls at the dinner table, answering calls at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning from clients. Again, if that's what you want to do and if that's what you want to be, if that's what your quality of life looks like, then I would urge you to reassess that. We are here because this is the attorney cheat code. We are fast tracking our way to law firm ownership for the law firm of our dreams, for the life of our dreams. My name is Attorney Alicia Jones, and I am so glad that you have been with me today. And I look forward to speaking to you on the next episode.